We didn't know the Galactic Empire's proudest, most terrifying dreadnought was completely coated in a highly sensitive, gold-plated anti-energy mesh until our primary targeted communications array hit their hull, and their entire flagship began sparkling like a cheap, glittering toy under the bright stars of the sector. That was the exact hook the universe used to turn a tense first-contact standoff into a humiliating cosmic joke. I'm Fleet Admiral Vane. I'm a highborn officer of the Valeri Dominion, an 8-foot-tall aristocracy of elegant, avian reptilian conquerors who rule the core worlds of the Galactic Empire. For 3,000 years, our empire's expansion policy has relied entirely on cold math, spreadsheets, and absolute psychological dominance. When our pristine, 10-kilometer-long Imperial super dreadnought drops into a primitive system, the indigenous species always drop to their knees on their spotless floorboards, weeping and begging for Imperial mercy. But 20 minutes ago, the Imperial logic matrix completely collapsed. We had just dropped out of hyperspace into the Sol system to issue the standard edict of total annexation. Blocking our path was a human fleet. To our sophisticated targeting computers, the human vessels were an absolute abomination. They weren't sleek, symmetrical, or elegant. They were massive, blocky wedges of unpainted, raw industrial steel, covered in ugly slag armor and held together by thick weld lines that looked like they belonged in a mining quarry rather than a space lane. The Grand Chancellor, a towering aristocrat wrapped in heavy ceremonial silk, stepped up to the obsidian command dais. His internal quantum computers were running the numbers, and the equations in his high-tech helmet showed a 0% threat probability from the primitive apes. He opened the sector-wide transmission channel. His mechanical translator droned out a wet, heavy, metallic rasp. Your biological structure is grossly inferior, the machine automated. Your primitive vessels violate the aesthetic and military algorithms of the throne. Remove your vessels from our lane. Your logic centers must dictate immediate submission. Walk away now. To maximize the psychological impact, the Chancellor triggered our primary weapon system, the Sun Shatter Cannon. A massive, glowing rod of pure dark matter energy emerged from our hull, crackling with a hot, lethal crimson light that could boil an entire ocean in a fraction of a second. All caps for emphasis can't describe the absolute, paralyzing madness that came back through the comms channel right then. The humans didn't scream. They didn't panic. They didn't offer a spreadsheet of resource concessions to buy their freedom. Instead, the entire human bridge crew began to laugh. The sound came through the subspace radio like a chaotic wave of thunder, hundreds of raw, booming human voices cackling, wheezing, and slapping their knees over the emergency frequency. The human captain, a grizzled old bastard in a tattered leather jacket, leaned so far back in his command chair that he almost spilled his black coffee. "Hey, lizard," the captain gasped, his voice cracked like old leather but echoing clearly through our silent command deck. "What in the hell are you driving? Did you extract that shiny gold thing from a luxury cruise liner? Or does your king just really like dressing up his toys? That ain't a warship. That's a floating target bot." The Chancellor froze, his mandibles twitching in absolute, stunned paralysis. His internal computer went into an error-ridden loop. Alien logic says that when a lower species is faced with a 10-kilometer Imperial dreadnought and a loaded doomsday weapon, they slide into the mud and beg for survival. They run on numbers. They don't point and laugh. The primitive is experiencing a neurological malfunction. The Chancellor roared, his iridescent silver scales flaring a hot, defensive crimson. "Fire the primary weapon. Liquidate their arrogance." The Sun Shatter fired. A massive beam of dark energy surged toward the human flagship. But the humans didn't even activate an energy shield. They didn't need to. As the beam neared, The human ship simply deployed an array of angled, ultra-dense, to meet thick physical tungsten deflector plates. The dark matter energy hit the solid, unrefined metal, scattered uselessly against the heavy slag armor, and bounced harmlessly off into the empty void. The humans didn't rely on fragile, high-tech magnetic shields that could be hacked or overloaded. They just used pure, stubborn, heavy mass. Before our tactical computers could calculate the failure, the human captain stopped laughing. His face went completely cold through the viewing screen, his wide amber eyes locking onto our bridge. "Our turn, Princess," he whispered. The humans didn't use elegant plasma or clean lasers. The side of their blocky steel ship slid open, revealing dozens of massive, primitive kinetic railgun barrels. They fired massive, multi-ton solid metal slugs accelerated to 3% of the speed of light. The impact was catastrophic. Our elegant, gold-plated anti-energy mesh was completely useless against raw, kinetic momentum. The human slugs punched clean through our pristine outer hulls, fracturing our internal structural matrix and causing our high-tech systems to pop and hiss, showering our spotless floorboards with glass and sparks. In less than 30 seconds, the pride of the Galactic Empire was listing to the side, its engine sputtering a dull, dying orange. The equations in our helmets were completely broken. Our math had failed us. The human fleet slowly moved into a tight blockade formation around our smoking flagship. The giant royal guards dropped their plasma halberds, backing away from the windows in absolute, terrified awe of a species that fights with the raw, brutal weight of the date itself. The universe thinks everything can be managed, bought, or intimidated with sleek technology, spreadsheets, and clean simulations. The alien empires assume that our soft skin means we run on the same cold calculations that they do. But they forget that our chaotic nature, our sense of humor in the face of death, and our total refusal to be intimidated by your shining gold titles is exactly what makes us so damn dangerous. Because when a human looks at your 3,000-year-old empire and sees nothing but a joke, your entire civilization is already burning. So, next time you try to threaten a fleet of tattered, unpainted steel wagons, don't wait for the punchline. Just run.